Let's look at some simple string manipulation examples. These string manipulation examples will become handy later on when we are using Python for hacking examples. So let's try a simple string strabc, and let's use a simple sentence, simple phrase. It doesn't really matter. And I'll just type in something here. And what we're going to do is actually see how to get the position of certain letters. So let's look at, let me just fix this, this correction here. And now what we want to do is figure out how to grab the first letter in this phrase. So we do strabc equals, and we want position 0. So we do it in this way, strabc 0. We still need to use the print command to print that to the screen. So print, and what it should return is the first letter. And if you see here, it gives us the letter T as the first letter in this string. If I then want to print the first 3 letters in this string, I can do a similar version, but strabc, but now 0 to 3. So it'll give us the first 3 characters. 0:3. And this should give us the result THI when I run this particular program. As you can see, THI, if I wanted to print the word this, I can use it with the number 4, and that would give us the word this, as you can see at the bottom here. Now there's another option you can use here, is if you want to print something backwards, you can use the following expression, which basically prints backwards. So as you can see, if I use the following print command, strabc, and instead of using a number as we had done in the previous 2 examples, we can use the minus operator. So -4 will give us the last 4 letters, which is news, and give us that result. So let's have a look at the play or running of this application, and as you can see, it gives us news as predicted with this particular expression. So we can also do some additional options here. We can actually read from a file. We can also split up a string. So I'll show you how we can split a string in this next example, which will allow us to take the string that we had above and break it into individual words. So to do that, we will need to use the split command, and we type it in this following manner. We use the strabc, and we use the dot option, and then split. So strabc dot split, and then we want to use a space character within quotes. So here we are, strabc dot split, and then we want to include a quotation marks, double quotations with a space in between. And with this, it will give us each word in its own singular quotes and separated by a comma. We can also use the join command, which will allow us to join 2 strings. So in this example, we'll take 2 short strings and then look at how we can join them together. So firstly, let's define A equals, and let's use ABC for A, and we put this in single quotes, and B equals, let's use XYZ, also in single quotes. Now to join them, what we do is we want to print, and this time when I open brackets, I'm going to use double quotes with no spacing in between, then a comma, then join, and now I'm going to open brackets again and put in square brackets with the 2 variables, A, comma, B, close those square brackets. If I play this now, you will see ABC, XYZ which is the combination of variable A and variable B. Another example I want to show you is where we can get user input from the user. So let's go in and see if we can grab an email address for the user. So let's type in email and use this variable to get the user to type in their email details. And what we then want to do is print this to the screen. So we want raw input from the user. So email equals raw input. And let's call this please enter email. Now, once we do that, we can then get the user to type in something for the email address. And let's do the print to the screen, which will then allow us to print this to the screen. So as you can see, it's asking me for an email here, but now I also want to print the email to the screen to verify we have captured the email address. Now if I run the program, it should print the email after it asks me to enter an email address. So let us use test@test.com, and as you can see, it has printed the output correctly. So again, raw input from the user will then be printed to the screen in this particular example. Now what I'd like to do is also show you how we can read data from a file. Reading from a file is extremely useful in Python because when we have long lists of data that we want to analyze later, especially when we're using Python for hacking, this will be incredibly useful to see how we can read lines of code from a file. So let's use a variable f equals open, and let's type in, we can use a relative path, which is /, which is the same path name as where hello.py is, or we can use the absolute path by typing in /root/ let's work on a file called abc.txt. And what we want to do is then define a variable. We'll also use the read tag here to make sure it's in read mode. And what we want to do here is for line being a variable, for line in f, what we want to do is then basically print the line. So what we're basically saying is any line in the file, print that line. So let's go in first to make sure we have a file at this address. So I'll go to the Kali Linux screen as well, and let's go to that root directory and use nano to edit a file. It looks like I already have an abc.txt file, so let me quit out of this and let me remove this file, and we can start fresh again. So just call it rm, and let's edit this again. And what I'll do here is put in A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H. Then we'll put A, B, C, X, Y, Z, and let's say this is great. Let's save this file now and go back to the command prompt. We'll use the more option, so more, and let's look at the file contents of the abc.txt file. As you can see here, the text file now contains all this data. Let's go back to Python now, and in Python, if we hit the run button, which will then allow us, it's asking for email address, so let me just type in something here, t@t.com, and let's look at the results. As you can see, it has printed A, B, etc. up to ABC XYZ, and this is great. So it has read the file, and as I said, it will be incredibly useful later on to print out port numbers or IP addresses or vulnerabilities, etc. when we have a long list of data. We want Python to filter out certain bits of information. Very useful, especially in a hacking environment. So with these quick examples, I've shown you how to use strings, manipulate those strings, also to be able to grab user input and also be able to open a file and then print line by line. As we will move on from this simple example to more complex examples in hacking.